All right, folks, let's address that big question that a lot of people are asking right now is, are home values going to increase or come down as we move through 2026? Well, the short answer is I think values are going to increase as we move through 2026. And if you'll sit with me for a few minutes here, I'm going to explain to you, I'm going to show you some charts, and I'm going to give you, well, I'm hopefully paint a picture to help you understand what I'm seeing so you can make the best choice for yourself and your family as you move through the new year, if you're thinking about buying or selling a home. So to really determine the future, let's take a look at our past. And to do this, I want to take a look at what's happened when the Fed has implemented quantitative tightening versus quantitative easing. Now also understand, if you're in a subdivision where you're competing with a lot of new construction, your market is going to be very different than if you're in an area that's a little bit more established. So a little bit more local for Texas, let's say you're in a subdivision like Harvest or Pecan Square, your market is going to be very different than if you're in, let's say, Heritage or Hidden Lakes or certain areas that are a little bit more established. Now, the Fed just ended quantitative tightening as of December 12th of 2025. Now, if we see what's happened in the past with quantitative easing versus quantitative tightening, we can see that every time QE has gone into place, the stock market's gone up and home values have gone up. And in fact, if you look after 2010, when QE was put into place, the stock market tripled over the next few years and home values went up. So here we can take a look, and for this one, we're gonna look at national. We're just gonna look at home values, and you can see here, values continue to move up. But man, Zillow doesn't really give me the data I need to see. So let's come up here and look at our local MLS. Now this is local to the North Texas MLS. Now, here more recently, the data is pulled from larger portions like Houston and Austin, those markets, but before 2025, it was a lot more local. So we can see here that home values as of 2015 continued to increase with seasonal trends, up to the point to where we hit when QT was put into place. Now, the reason why this is so important is the Fed, like I said, just ended QT, and they're going to start printing money, but they're not going to do it the same way that they've done it in the past. What the Fed's goal right now is to buy about $40 billion worth of government bonds through the year every month, which will end up being about $500 billion in bonds bought over the year. Now, what is all this cash flow going to do? Well, not cash flow, rather. What is this liquidity going to do? Well, this is going to go into the banks, and that cash is going to go into investors and individuals. And when this happens, we're going to see stocks increase in value, we're going to see bonds increase in value, and we're definitely going to see real estate increase in value. Now, like I said, last time this was put into place, we continue to see home values increase up to the point when COVID hit, right? So COVID hit, and the Fed's like, oh my God, we have to stimulate the economy. So they artificially lowered interest rates, which caused everybody to refinance and or buy a home. And then we saw the home values increase. And then the Fed came out, was like, holy crap, inflation's through the roof. We need to get it down to 2%. So then they implemented quantitative tightening. And then interest rates went from like 3-ish% up to 8%. And then we saw the market drop. January of 2023 is when we hit the bottom of the market, and then it rebounded. Now, partly was because the interest rates went from the 8s, approximately the 8s, and it came down a little bit lower. And people still need to buy and sell homes. I mean, it's been something I've seen over the past 2 decades in real estate. No matter what place the economy is in, there are always people that will need to buy and sell homes. So what I'm about to show you here is trends that went during quantitative tightening, meaning the Fed is tight on the market and money is tighter, which is going to make home values in most cases flatline or even go down. And that's really what we saw. We saw this kind of flatline with seasonal increases. And then we're up to December 2025 to where quantitative tightening finally end, and now we're going to start QE. So what do you think is going to happen? When we look at the historical data, we can see that when QE goes into place, home values increase. So I believe home values are going to increase as we move through 2026. So that's the conclusion for what I think for 2026. But let me show you some interesting stuff that I found out. So this chart right here is resale homes. But take a look and see what happens on new construction homes. Now, I have some anecdotal ideas of why I think new construction has continued to decrease in value. So we can see they had a similar peak in June of 2022, but then the new construction continued to go down. Now, pre-COVID, I always advise buyers, depending on what stage you buy a home in a new development, you're looking about 3 to 5 years before your home starts to increase in value because you're competing with the builder. But builders right now have been under a bit of a microscope, and a lot of that's due to social media. We're seeing builders get lawsuit after lawsuit. You're also seeing builders where they're hiding fees. So there's people that buy a home thinking their payment's gonna be around here, and then after a year, it's up to here. And there's PIDs, there's MUDs, there's different little fees in there that builders aren't quite disclosing to the buyers. Then when they get into the home, they're kind of SOL because they're stuck with the property. Then they put that on social media, and I'm seeing more buyers are nervous to buy new construction. And that, like I said, is anecdotal, but that's why I think you're seeing the overall value of new construction go down. But the overall value for resale properties is about, I would say, flatline with a slight increase. Now, let me show you something else that's kind of interesting. I looked at Tarrant County, and it's going to be about the same for Tarrant County, Denton County, Wise County. Really think about that Alliance, I-35 up to Denton. There's a lot going in this area. If you're looking to buy in this area, I genuinely believe this is going to give you a great opportunity for appreciation over the next 3 to 5 years. And part of it is slightly politically driven because I've noticed during the COVID years, a lot of people were moving to Texas. They were focused on Austin. They were focused on Dallas. Fort Worth was kind of a hidden gem. Now I'm seeing people move up from Austin, move over from Dallas, and like I said, it's more of a politically driven move, and I'm not going to go into a lot of detail about that in today's video. But let me show you something else real quick before we wrap this video up. Let's see what builders have done in Tarrant County. Once again, same thing as this trend right here. Same thing for Tarrant County. So like I said, Denton, Wise, all those areas, I would say east of DFW, or west, sorry, of DFW Airport, has had resale homes continue to flatline, or I would say flatline or slightly increase, and new construction has actually dropped in value. So if you're looking for a great deal this year, I would say maybe focus on new construction, but be careful. Work with an agent that understands that area and understands that market so you don't get smacked with those random hidden fees that you didn't anticipate. But new construction might be a good way to go. Also, I would advise buyers to please stay away from the 3-2-1 buy downs. They're akin to adjustable rate mortgage, and I think it's going to leave people in a bad position 2 to 3 years down the road after buying that property. But anyways, folks, that's a conclusion for this video. I hope you got some value out of it. The best compliment I can get for making these videos is a referral. So if you'd like to share this video with a friend or family member, I sure would appreciate it. And until next time, I hope you have a fantastic 2026.